Suning taking on World Elite here today on the second day of week 7 as the achievements have got out of control. I know that all will be an all kill. That's something I do understand. But I don't know what anything else will be. That'll be a 3-0 win, I assume. And Suning 4 and 8, just starting to break away from the pack in the wrong direction. You really don't want to be down that low. The bottom 2 teams do not make the playoffs. World Elite 6 and 6, kind of what I'd have expected at the start, honestly. I think I've been a little bit harsh to them on describing them as like the steady average. Ulov in particular seems to be a lot stronger these days than he ever was before. But for me, Brox has been one of the standout new faces for us. Not just of this tournament, but also Masters Tours as well. I think Brox has a bright future. But Suning don't have much of a bright future in this first season if they don't start to get some wins very soon. Alright, let's have a look at the lineups. Brox has brought the Warrior, the Druid, the Warlock and the Rogue. And Yuansu has brought the Warrior, the Druid, the Priest and the Rogue. So the difference is that Priest or something, Warlock, that'd be it. Warriors both being banned. I've done my checking up, and this was the week where the Twin Slice nerf happened, and a lot of the teams decided not to go with Demon Hunter because of it. I'm wondering if they had to submit not being able to test or something, because with Druid being so prevalent and the Demon Hunter changes really not hurting it against Druid, I think it made a small difference, but there's an argument to say that the extra damage from Twin Slice actually, in the Druid match in particular, kind of compensated to a very large degree. I would still want to be running Demon Hunters into Druids at this point, but most of the teams elected not to bring it. So it will be interesting as this week unfolds to see if the Demon Hunters do any good. I think we saw one and it was banned so far, so you know, doing its job. Anyway, Priest versus the Quest Warlock, and this is kind of the matchup that the Quest Warlock was invented for when Priest was at its height. Quest Warlock just can take advantage of all the time that Priest gives it to set up the OTK in particular. Obviously it's not the only way to play it, but in the basic ABC terms, the reason this works as a matchup for the Warlock is because it can combo kill the Priest, and the Priest can't really do anything about it. And whilst the Priest can hang around on 30, it just takes too much damage. Plus, the Warlock has a sneaky number of threats, thanks to the Abyssal Summoners. That being said, Yuansu's doing what he needs to do here, getting established on the board early, trying to get some damage thrown in, but now he's going to start having to make decisions. This Apotheosis, for instance, isn't really what he wants to be doing. Really doesn't want to have to play that right now, but soon he's going to start running out of hand space. So he does actually play. I thought he wouldn't. I thought he'd try and delay it a bit longer, but this is the discussion I was having with myself here. It's, you know, it's good damage, and keeping the cards flowing is important here. The Priest is the aggressive deck in this matchup, and again, that goes back to what I was saying about why it's favoured for the Warlock. Yeah, the Priest is not built to be an aggressive deck. It's built to be a frustrating nonsense of a deck that just slowly but surely gets rid of your opponent's teeth. That's the word I'm looking for. Gets rid of their teeth and then just beats them when they've got none left. So having to turn itself into an attacking deck is not really where it wants to be. That being said, Yuansu has put himself in a pretty good spot. He's managed to get some early damage in. He's got plenty of removal for these Abyssals. He's got the Katrina ready to go to get some more cards back later. Maybe he can get it done, especially if he can steal a direct damage spell to go with this Malagos. Maybe that would be a way to get over the finishing line here. The problem is, whilst the Priest can heal a lot, the Warlock heals ridiculous amounts. You do need to have a certain amount of courage to be able to play this Warlock deck. You have to be willing to go very low on health. You have to be willing to sometimes not deal with a board. And if you push that too far, you explode. So it's a deck that should take a lot of time to play after the initial turns where you fill up your hand. And Brox is doing that. He's taking his time. I quite like playing the Abyssal Summoner here. He knows it's going to get killed is the big problem, and you know that's another 4 damage Yuansu will get in. And you can see why he didn't want to do this. But that would mean so how your thought process goes here is I play the Abyssal Summoner, what happens? Well, it gets time ripped. You know that because you've not put any other threats down, so they're going to have a death or a time rip for it. You don't have enough threats to remove all their removal, which means he's going down to 14. And also he can allow for the priest having almost exactly this board. And then the next step in the thinking is, well, will that kill me, or am I okay to deal with the ensuing board? And he decided he was okay. A little bit more of an emergency now, though. We might see that second plot twist played, partly to heal, partly to complete the quest, but he needs to work out if there's anything he wants to do beforehand. And this time playing the Abyssal Summoner is a little bit more tempting because there's less chance the priest has the removal, but it's also a bit more punishing if it goes wrong, because then you're down to single figures of health, and that is not where you want to be. So whereas last turn he decided that 14 health was something he could cope with, if he gets it wrong this time and plays into it, then he would most likely just explode, and instead he's going to go with the clear, and I assume that means he'll plot twist here as well. Not going to, but he's also not life tapping, showing where his mind's at a little bit in terms of that health total. Right, so if we're keeping you up, Yuansu, it's not the liveliest of matchups. It's quite an intriguing matchup. I like this matchup. Skeletal Drake. Which I never remember the name of, ever. Like, you'd think I'd know by now, but I just don't. But that looks like the play to me. Just generate some more value, put down some more attack on the board. Hear me clicking, it's because I'm trying to work out exactly what name I just got wrong. Skeletal Dragon. It's actually closer than I expected. There's only bones and skeletons and dragons and drakes. But it turns out that when I don't have the visual clue of the first letter, my brain kind of melts. I'm sure that many of you think my brain melted a long time ago anyway. Alright. He feels that he can get back some pretty good stuff here. 6-8 in its own right, of course, is important. It's not just about the ability here. Well, no obvious solution for Brox. He can definitely deal with the things. I mean, he has Moarg in hand, he has a minion on the board, he has removal in hand. But it would leave him in a tough spot. I wonder if we'll see a plot twist now. Maybe play the Moarg first, then plot twist and just get hunting for a combination of more health and some better removal. I think that would be my play. Again, this is where you need to play the deck a lot, you need to know your odds, and you need to have some courage sometimes. But playing the Moarg and then plot twisting does seem to be the way out. Oh, he's going to get the health with the Sense Demons. Also makes a lot of sense. And just straight plot twist. He is willing to take the damage with the bigger hand. I've really nicely worked out here. He knew that this was going to gain him a lot of health, and he also knew that the way I was suggesting, maybe I doubt he was worried about the danger aspect. He was likely to get the clear, but next turn he's going to be in the same spot with a smaller hand size. So the way he did it was to get his health up, get that hand size up, and with the higher hand size this deck is so much better. Very nicely worked out by Brox. See how the follow-up works for him, though. Because this board is starting to get out of control. Right, Yuansu, well, Twisting Nether is an issue, and it's easy for me to say sat here that you should kind of ignore it, but I'll be quite impressed if he does play this dragon, actually. It's really easy. We can see he obviously should do it, but he's just got to do the math, and there's probably one Twisting Nether in the deck. I will just check that while I'm waffling away. And out of the 20 cards that were left in the deck, he drew 8 and 12 in the deck, or 9 and 12, whichever way around that was. Oh yeah, there's one Twisting Nether, so he can do the odds, and it's less than 50-50 that Brox has it. Probably about 50-50 if you count the draw and the tap. But the benefits of having it are so huge. Look at this wide board now. Brox managing his hand size absolutely cleanly so far. You spend half of the time as Warlock filling up your hand, and the other half trying to empty it desperately because it's too full, so that you can fill it again. It makes sense. It's just when you think of it like that, it's a little bit silly. Brox now calculating his best out here. Zephyrus active with 10 cards left. That happens a lot because you do tend to play one-ofs before you plot twists. It's not quite as ridiculous as it might seem. And now it's just about having managed everything pretty nicely to this point. Brox just needs to get a little bit of value from his hero power, and things will get a lot easier for him now. He seems to have turned the corner. And that basically came down to the Skeletal Dragon. It means that Yuansu has run out of stuff. I'd be playing Moazond, not... I guess Moazond just dies to the Dark Skies that was played last turn, actually. So this is a pretty horrible play to have to make. This Malygos was kind of Yuansu's out, but it's not the easiest card to deal with for Brox. It's not impossible either, as you've just seen, and there were other ways as well using the Zephyrus, but has to at least pretend to be keeping the pressure on. Yeah, you can see from his body language that he knows that this has gone the wrong way. Yeah, if you didn't see the game and you looked at the two players, you'd know which one was in front here, I think. But Yuansu's obligated to keep trying to put pressure on. If he misses a turn, things just go badly so quickly. It allows Brox to start playing down his army of minions that starts happening about now. Brox does still have to convert this. Alex are pretty useless because of the Soul Mirror, although a lot of dragons do have higher health and attack. The Abyssal probably going to be able to be dealt with, although we can see actually there is no way, but Brox won't have reason to believe that. Brox picks up another of his 9 drops. This makes things a lot more messy when this happens. And Yuansu has got a lot of damage available with this fully invoked Galakond. Brox has got to play very carefully from this point on, or he is just going to lose. Yeah, maybe I've called this a little bit quick. Really hard when your hand's full of really good 9 drops because you want to hero power, but you want to play a 9 drop, and 11 is just not how Hearthstone works. It's even worse. Actually, I think Brox knows that none of the cards in Yuansu's hand are stolen. That's really important because it means that Yuansu shouldn't be able to kill Brox next turn. If there was any danger of him having a soul fire or something, this would be a lot harder. But he should be okay here and has set up his own lethal next turn now. And this is why I like Brox as a player. Like, the calmness with how he's navigated this. I would have and have, as you've heard in the commentary, and I can play this deck. Yeah, I'm pretty good at this deck, but you have heard me make several plays that were nowhere near as strong as Brox's in this game so far. And he has managed to set up a lethal. Although, that being said, he is still slightly up against it. How he proceeds with here will be very interesting to see. This Mind Flayer is giving a lot of trouble. This whole scenario is, yeah. I mentioned the body language a minute ago. That has reversed in the last couple of turns. Just the 5 cards left. Trying to work out how close to an OTK he is. Well, he's getting there. He is getting there. A 0-mana Malygos and the game would end. A 9-mana Malygos. We've got 9, 18, 27. Would need to find a little bit of chip damage from somewhere else, but 27 would obviously be a mighty blow. But he's got to stay alive. He's so close to dying himself. If Yuansu Thought Steals into Soulfire, the game ends. Although I think it's only the one Soulfire. Yeah, it's only the one Soulfire and it's in hand. So it would have to be Madame Lazul. And incredibly, there's no trivial way to deal with this. Oh. Good luck, Yuansu. Gets it. But is it any use to him? It's an interesting call. Because Zephyrus probably won't activate for him. But he was pretty sure it was Zephyrus. Interesting. I wonder if he could have gone for Malygos there. I wonder if this was the right play or not. And it is a 2-mana 3-2, which is actually surprisingly handy right now with the incredibly low health that Brox has got down to. Hellfire. Interesting that he's brought the Hellfire, which is super good in some situations, but particularly against Demon Hunter, which he's not facing. Rips that Malygos though. And look at all this health gain. Doesn't need to Soulfire, it's a tough call. Really tough call. 9 and discard something or just chill. Oh, he's trying to work out the Zephyrus. Can he win this without Zephyrus? So if he Hellfires, he does 8. That'll put Yuansu down to 9. And then he Soulfires. Is it like Brox just can't believe that he's got this? Yeah, that's all it is. It's funny, he can manipulate hand size, card size, future outcomes and everything, and then when it comes to adding 9 and 8 to get 17, he just blanked completely there. But he does get it done, and Suning take a 1-0 lead after a fascinating game. Which in the end ended how it always ends, with the Warlock comboing out the Priest, but it really didn't feel like that was going to happen on several occasions there. Yuansu did manage to... Well, there's two ways of looking at it. You can say that Yuansu managed to put on the right amount of pressure and nearly got it done. You can also say that Brox understood the matchup so well that he took the right amount of damage. What a confidence boost though. I love watching Brox play. He's not happy with this though. The Druid matchup's a bit of a weird one. If Druid does its thing, then Warlock loses. And Brock's not happy with his hand at all. This might be a quick game. But the Druid having to do it the old-fashioned way. don't think you can afford to double innovate or double coin, however you want to look at it here, into the glowflies. I don't know, it's 5 2/2s and your opponent isn't on 10 cards yet. We just check that. Yeah, 9 cards in hand. 8 spells in hand. You'd use 2 spells plus the glowfly. Use 5. With Savage Draw, I think you go for it. It's not. There's so many punishes though, like Moarg into rain just kills your board, or double rain. So what's the future here for Yuansu if he doesn't go for it? Is there a future? Is it just he'd end up doing it all a turn slower and exactly the same thing happens? Because if that's the case, then he might as well go for it. Yeah, he doesn't like it, but I think the same reasoning I used is it doesn't get any better. So shut your eyes. It does require Brox to have certain combos of cards to clear it up. And it does get underneath this Netherwing. If he'd waited a turn, for instance, Netherwing would have just had the opportunity to blow it all up, although at the moment it's not active, of course. Good calls from Yuansu, actually. I think a lot of them have been obvious from a caster perspective because we can see both hands. But I've been pretty impressed with him throughout this tournament, and again I think he's playing very steady Hearthstone here. Well, Brox doesn't like his suite of solutions there, so decides to plot twist and pretty much draw the same hand. Okay, now he's got solutions. So interested to see what Yuansu does here. I mean, surely he will Savage Draw, which is kind of the best chance he's going to get. No point using the Power of the Wild and buffing everything to 3. That just doesn't change the outcome with the Netherwings. Just get that damage in while it's available. This used to be a thing with Bloodlust in the Shaman days. You wait until you get the biggest wide board you think you're going to get all game, and then you play your Bloodlust even if it's not lethal. It feels wrong the first few times you do it. You feel like you're wasting a resource, but turns out you're not. But now Yuansu does have to rebuild. Curious to see how he values the 1 to face here. Yeah, I did wonder. It doesn't just do 1 point of damage. It restricts Brox to only 1 more life tap before he has to heal. So that's a stronger play than it might look. I think the difference from 4 to 3 might not be as much, but the difference from 5 to 4 is pretty huge. And although Brox doesn't have any issue with healing if he wants to, it's just made it really awkward for him. Might have to kill his own minion, or maybe he'll choose not to tap. And against Druid, all the time things get worse and worse for you. Now with finally Yuansu picking up that overgrowth last turn, the clock is going to accelerate here. Yep, setting up a big Mount Seller turn. Next turn. Interesting. Very interesting. He's not keen on how much damage he's taking here. So gives up a couple of Mount Seller options for this. Maybe he's probably going to Isira next turn actually, because he has the overflow option. It will depend what he's facing. But removing that damage has given him the option to Isira now. Whereas taking 9 2 turns in a row against a deck that has decent amounts of direct damage probably didn't feel the safest, so that makes sense to me. Yeah, now he's got no health gain left. Well, he does. He still has the breaths. And I think this turn will decide this game. Yuansu. Can stabilise with an immediate mount seller, but then it makes his Ysera so slow. Or he can play the Ysera and hope he doesn't die, which is definitely an option that could happen to him. But if he doesn't die, he'd be in a much better spot, with Overflow being so powerful the turn after. But still, the turn after, not perfect. So if you're a Ysera, you do have to back it up with the Iron Bark. I think that's the play. I think you have to play Ysera and taunt it up, and then Overflow next turn. So annoying Overflow when your opponent's on 4. But yeah, Yuansu correctly evaluating that he's a long way in front. And if you evaluate your long way in front, you make sure that nothing cheeky happens to you. But because he didn't get the early ramp, he has let Brox at least into this a little bit. Well, Brox now has to find ways to get some damage through here, I feel. He's only 2 cards away from completing quest. An excuse to play the Moarg and double Never the Breath seems so powerful here. It's so much healing and so much damage because you push the 8. And, you know, you do 16 damage to a 15 health minion. When's that going to be better? But this is why I like Brox, because he finds other options so often. He can just kill it. And he's going to just kill it. And happy to just sit there on 4. Oh, and look at this. Just playing Zephyrus. Because why not? Which means that he has multiple ways of doing 11 with the minions on board. And because he kept back the Nether Breaths, if taunts are played this turn, he can force his way through. Oof. Trying to process exactly what's come up here. I don't think there's any direct face damage in this deck. So the Malagos... Oh, there is. There's a Moonfire. Of course. It's only 6. Crystal Power will remove a minion, of course, with the Malagos down. That's the straightforward play. And I guess you Moonfire the other one. You want to put it in the face, but... Really? Actually does. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like that didn't need to go face. Like, isn't this army enough? I guess if you get Twisting Nethered, it's not. But I'm not quite sure how that 6 to face helps you. I guess Malagos won't be there next turn, because if it is there next turn, you've won. So 5 extra damage while it's there. And you don't need to kill your opponent minions because Twisting Nether is the only card you're scared of. Okay. Okay. I'm comfortable now. Brox, I mean, he can clear. He can Nether. What else can he do? It did also play around Netherwing, putting Brox to 3. Like, obviously Netherwing doesn't really look great, but it's likely going to take a combination of cards to kill this board. Because Twisting Nether is almost a concede here, if I'm not making that obvious. Yeah, you clear the board, you pass back to Yuansu, and he's got a full Druid hand. You know he's just going to put another big board there, and you're in the same spot, but you haven't got a Twisting Nether anymore. So, yeah, basically. He's got to find another way. That's what he's tried to do. I'm not sure if he's managed it, though. Yeah, he has. My instinct says there must be a lethal here. So, Power of the Wild, right off one of the dragons. So we just look at a 4-11 and a 5-4. So that's 9. Power of the Wild adds 2, that's 11. Power of the Wild adds 2 more, that's 13. And Savage Roar adds 6, that's 19. You've got the mana, you've got a hero power. Yeah, this is plenty. Easy for me to say. I don't lose for my team if I get it wrong, but yeah. Nice straightforward. Chooses not to use the other Power of the Wild, just to show dominance. And it goes to 1 game all. And both players good for it, I feel. So, Yuansu will remain on the Druid. I think I've said X player will remain on the Druid a million times during the course of this event. And Brox cues the mirror. Yuansu has to full mulligan, hence the reaction. But look at what he's got into. So this is all about who gets the first decent sized glowfly swarm, or who gets the first decent mount seller. Whoever gets the first board wins it surprisingly often. Sometimes if your opponent plays a glowfly swarm, you can kill 1 or 2 glowflies and then make your own glowfly swarm. That's a thing that can happen. Probably not in that order. But usually the first person to establish a board wins. They've both drawn Vamp, they've both drawn glowflies. Going to be very interesting to see how this works out. Very interesting. Maybe not quite the right phrase. Intriguing, maybe better. And so we'll have the decision to make next turn. If he draws a spell, he can make 5 glowflies. That might be enticing to him. If he doesn't draw a spell, 4 might not be. And Brox is in the same boat, except he will just have 5 mana naturally available to him. And he will be able to maybe save up for a big mount seller turn with the double innovate you can see there. Decision time for Yuansu. Do you want to ramp? Do you want to go all in on glowflies? Would be 5 glowflies. He's got no other card draw in hand at the moment. But if he does ramp and picks up card draw, if he picks up mount seller, there's a lot of outs here that he needs to count. That maybe ramping is better. Or he can have 5 glowflies. It's where a vision of what your opponent might do stands out. Well, the worst that can happen is that Brox can make 5 glowflies. You'd rather not face that without having your own, so I think he'll make them when you word it like that. And he does. And Brox has no obvious answer. So he should play his... should he? Probably play his own. He can innovate into Mount Seller, but it doesn't seem right. Oh, he only gets 4 glowflies. Innovate, Mount Seller, Moonfire. Just seems to lose all your cards, and the Mount Seller doesn't even really do much. As we can see, as it happens, the Mount Seller would do quite a lot. Yuansu doesn't really have a way to deal with it, but this makes more sense. Next turn, the Mount Seller might be a better prospect, might have some backup. And maybe Brox doesn't die. And as we can see, actually, Brox is going to get the good news that he's in a good spot. Yuansu could fungal here, looking for a Power of the Wild. If he hits it, that would be very close to game over. I think I want to fungal here. Otherwise, he's going to get behind. He's looking at Ironbark, which means... I don't know what it means. I guess Ironbark Crystal Power, or Ironbark Moonfire Hero Power. But I think you've got to either fungal or ramp here. They seem to be the 2 sensible options in life. Maybe he's looking at the Ironbark as a... How bad is my backup plan if the fungal misses after Ironbark a minion? Doesn't look too bad as as bad things go. He does hit the power of the wild though. And Brox just laughs. I mean, what can you do? In the Druid mirror, when things don't go your way, I'm all for talking about the skill of Hearthstone, but in the Druid mirror, if things don't go your way, all you can do is laugh. It's only one matchup. I think all the other matchups in the game are pretty good right now. But the Druid mirror... You can see there's decisions to be made. Like, Yuansu's last turn was really difficult. But there's also an element of it just being who gets to do the thing first. And these matchups have always existed, of course. In Last Hero Standing, don't be in this position is one of the answers. Like, genuine tough times now because the way the Power of the Wild was used means the Moonfire is actually pretty effective. It's not just throwing a damage out into the void like it would have been last turn. What Yuansu has kind of announced is that he hasn't got any other damage, but has he announced that? I don't think Brox will have much of a read at all on what he's facing here. This is really well played. Like, I don't think I could have made this play. Reading that he's okay. Right, Yuansu's now tidied up his initial problems that were caused by gaining the advantage, if you like. He's got himself now up there with the mana. Does need to get some cards, but imagine the time will come for that. Still decisions. He can trade, he can double Moonfire, which I don't really like, but if he feels that gets him there, then fair enough. I mean, he's got nothing for it to go with right now. It does force a lot of extra damage, but... And it does protect his 4/6. And it sets up lethal. Sure, okay. I'm a bit more convinced than I was. Well, Brox trying to find a way out here, but does not. Oh, he does! He hits it! What do you want to Ironbark? Porcupine might be quite good. With all those 1 health minions about. I mean, they're going to trade into it, I guess, but always good to force your opponent's hand. There's sometimes a case for doing the Mount Seller, but not really here. Oh, he decides go for the biggest health minion. Force Yuansu through it. Interesting. So he thinks that this gets there if Yuansu has to trade into the Mount Seller. He's comfortable enough with the board that he has. You make this play a lot against Warrior, where the Warrior just can't get through an 11 health minion without taking untold amounts of damage to its forces, but not so much in the Druid mirror. You tend to want to leave it on the board, especially with 2 good spells in hand. But it is the highest health minion, that's kind of the point. Which also, 6/11s kill 4/6s is another point. The numbers match up nicely. It's a beautiful play. Look at how it's going to work for him. Yep. Well played, Brox. And he nods. Like, that's the sign of a player who's happy with their own decision. It's like, he knew it was a bit of a weird one, and now it's like, yeah, look at me. I'm Brox. I got this. I got this right. And now I'm going to win the game because I got this right. Second part to be confirmed. That makes me happy to see a play where, yeah, it is pretty obvious you make the biggest health thing bigger. Sounds obvious, but you're giving away your star performer, your biggest card. But it doesn't matter, look at the damage coming in. He's got lethal next turn. And Yuansu's down to a Mount Seller and a Wild Growth, which isn't the worst thing to be down to be fair. And Brock's even making this decision. Like, if he ramps now, then next turn he can ramp the other one to get a extra card draw. But it's a point of damage he misses. Whoa, really huge pickup here for Yuansu. He's going to get a lot of minions here. And I've been a bit mean to the Druid mirror, but this is a cracking game. Both players having to make tough decisions. But Yuansu does not find an out, and Brox's buff earlier on the Mount Seller has worked out beautifully for him. It was the only way to clear the board. It was the only way to get rid of that 4-6. It looked wrong. Yeah, he is so relieved / happy because that was a great game. Well done, Brox. Puts himself 2-1 ahead. And it's a crucial game, this for Suning. 5 and 8 starts to look a lot less bad than 4 and 8. And look at his face as he sees this hand. Ramp and Glowflies. What more would you want? Well, playing against Rogue, Glowflies a bit slow. And Yuansu has a pretty nice hand. As you can see, this is the crazy version of Rogue that sometimes just makes ginormous minions, and Yuansu may get into that spot. The Umbral Skulker. Had to look this name up after something I commentated on recently because I know what the card does, I know what it looks like, but I've only ever seen it in Chinese events, so I've never bothered to learn the name. It was just a 4-mana 3/3. But Umbral Skulker it is. Maybe a way to turn that into a lot of coins to fuel these questions later on. Surprised we haven't seen more of it, but Rogue is so powerful, has a lot of things to choose from. Okay. But now setting up the Rogue basics. Lots of minions. Try and kill the Druid quickly. Brock's in a decent spot. He's got all the ramp he needs. He's going to be able to Mount Seller away next turn. So it's really up to Yuansu to make the most of this turn. Like, it's just numbers. How many numbers can you get on the board before your opponent Mount Sellers and tries to get more numbers than you? And this is a lot of numbers. I wonder if he'll go for the backstab as well. I think it's better to waste save for an opposing minion, but yeah, no reason to hurt your own stuff. No one's killing a 5/9 on this turn. Brox had a nice, simple turn planned out that didn't look very powerful, and now he has a chance to win the game. But he resists. Going for the Asura, feeling it's too slow, and look at the damage he'd take next turn if he went for Asura. So he feels like he needs the immediate challenge of the Rogue, and even that might not be enough. Again, Yuansu needs to plan the turn nicely. Options everywhere. Next turn he's going to be able to get... Well, I don't know if there's going to be a next turn. I was going to say next turn he's going to be able to get the coins and do insane things, but I don't think he's going to need to, because I'm not sure the next turn is going to exist. I think he might just end the game right here. Yeah, Brox is sort of like, what am I supposed to do? Well, I don't think Druids get much sympathy in these parts. I really like Brox's attitude. I'm waxing lyrical about him maybe a little bit too much, but he seems to know when to be serious, how to calm himself down when things are going bad, how to accept that sometimes you get Hearthstoned. I think he's just got an all-around good attitude, and I think he's got all-around powerful play. Haven't heard that much mentioned of him in China, but you know, Suning are having a bad time of it. But I do think he's one to watch. Don't know which emote that is, but whichever one it is, I think it reads the same way, which is, sure, go you. You're having fun, aren't you? You enjoy your questing adventurer. I'm going to sit here and mentally prepare for Game 5, which will be a mirror match. It's quite funny. You certainly wouldn't guess which player was absolutely demolishing their opponent in this one by looking at their faces. I like Yuansu's attitude as well, like just being very careful here. You can lose so quickly to Druid if something bad happens. And it's so easy. If this was ladder, I'd just be throwing cards out there, not really caring. I've got a 14-14, what are you going to do? At the end of the turn I'm going to have a very big minion. Has he found lethal? Yeah, he's got there. Nice work, Yuansu. Oh, he's one off. That's lethal. We can give him that one. Not the card Brox was looking for, but there isn't a card he's looking for. He's looking for the most ridiculous Ysera ever. But he has managed to get his brain at least half back into gear to consider the turn. Now he's drawn the overflow. I'm trying to think of any way. I mean, he's got to clear the board. That's not happening, so he's got to find a way to put, what, 25 taunt on the board? I don't know. I don't know how big this questing is going to get. It's going to get big. I know that much. Hearthstone's great though. When you're in the zone so much that sometimes you can see ways out where no one else can. You know, the 0.0001%. And when you're playing in that mode, it's so good fun. It's not good fun to be in the position, but it's good fun to know that you know what cards you're trying to hit, you know what's going on. I don't know what card he's trying to hit here. I think he does. I do get the impression he's got an idea. A couple of iron barks, but one's not enough. And right, his suspicions of last turn will be confirmed. This is... he's laughing at his own lack of conceding, I think. I'm not sure why he's refusing to concede, but it's not the worst habit to be in. Just making opponents play it out. We've seen some very early concedes by other players over the years. I've seen people concede when they're winning over the years. Navi famously conceding because his opponent played a Leroy and Navi assumed his opponent had all the other stuff, which they did not. 2 apiece. Rogue, Mirror. Who can get the board and keep it? Both basically playing the same version. Just going to check to see if Suning have the exact same list. It's not the same exact list. Just checking. Excuse me one moment. Brain trying to translate things from Chinese. I think there's a Waste Warden in Brox's deck. But basically the same stuff is going on. Trying to stick some big minions. Neither player playing the secrets. That's the big deal, which means that questing is going to have to be removed the old-fashioned way with damage and none of this newfangled bounce nonsense. I wonder if there's saps in the decks. No sap in Suning's deck. 1 sap in World Elite's deck. Let me just double check Suning's deck because no sap's kind of unusual. Yeah. According to this, no sap in the Suning deck. Which means that Yuansu is going to have license to just throw big things out there. Gets the early start, gets the few extra cards, has the board under control. Brox though has all three of the potentially powerful big minions. Can he manufacture the time to make them work? Know that Yuansu's Sage is going to just die to the Spy Mistress, but you have to do it. If your opponent doesn't want to kill things with Spy Mistress, they never will, so you have to sacrifice something along the line. Yuansu's busy planning what he'd like to do next turn as much as anything here. Obviously also working out what he wants to do about these stealth minions. I think you want to attack with a 1-3. Maybe not. So if he attacks with a Spy Mistress, it's probably going to do 6 damage because Brox is probably going to have to hit it, but it's so useful as a stealth minion. That's what the decision point was all about there. So the easy part for Brox is the trade. The rest is pretty awkward. Obviously a lot of good things he can do. But he's going to take it the slow way. Nothing quite works the other way. Like, you end up with a questing that just dies too easily. You don't mind one dying because you can play the other one the next turn. But if it dies too easily, the other one will die as well. Also needs to try and set up potentially going for an Edwin first, weird though that might seem, given that you have to spend the cards to make the Edwin. Maybe he'll try and get questing an Edwin on the same turn with a coin. That seems a relevant play. Which means that turn 4 is going to be the difficult play for him. And that's what he'll be thinking about now. Keeps the Spy Mistress there as a 4-1. And Yuansu wants to do this last turn, but now he can just replay another Spy Mistress. I think it makes a lot more sense. It's just good damage. I think he's just considering his ordering. Like, Spy Mistress into the second Miscreant seems nice. There's a lot of stuff on the board. Oh, it's Edwin time. It's Edwin time. Okay. I thought that maybe Edwin wouldn't get played here because of the presence of the opposing 4-1 Spy Mistress, but he's just seen an Eviscerate played. I guess he's thinking and then some sort of combo Eviscerate into Edwin and still have a really good board next turn. So the Seal Fate does mean that Brox can deal with this. Has to eat 8 damage, depending if what lucky he gets from the Seal Fate. Couple of outs there. The Rush or the Kobold would help. But instead decides to pick up an Eviscerate with the Spell Lucky. Most likely, although he now has the option to Preparation, Seal Fate, do Edwin things. And he'll take some damage, but he'll have his own giant Edwin on the board. Oh, this is going to be crazy. Can he get it off in time? I don't even want to speculate how big it's going to be. I'm going to do those. I'm going to go 14. But he's got to get it all off, otherwise the opposing Edwin's going to be a nightmare for him. I think everything's... There's a whole flurry of cards gone off here. A lot of things pointed at the Edwin. And he sat back in his chair, so yeah, he got it all done. Now it's just about waiting to see how monstrous this thing is. 18-18 Edwin Van Cleef. And all Yuansu can do is stare at the screen. Can he race it? That's the next question. We can see the Titanic Lackey, so the answer's probably no. But what's his other options? Not many. He can try and get a lackey into sap. That's so slow. So Skyvateer, Miscreant, push 7 face, or at least 6 face. Yeah, you have to push 6. You have to get rid of the 1/1 to protect your 3/1s. And then just hope you kill Brox next turn. Maybe draw the sap. But Brox, with that absolutely massive turn, had the vision to go for the spell. And it's put him in a great position here. And Yuansu's only chance is to ignore this Edwin and try and just win with face damage. As it stands, he does have lethal with the hero power and the lackey in hand. That would be exactly 11. But Brox has multiple ways to taunt up here. Oof. How do you do it though? Don't you just Titanic the Edwin? Oh. I guess that's what he's going to do. Obviously getting a little bit more value out of the questing in case the game for some reason continues. But yeah. And Yuansu is down to, I think, that 1 sap. Unless he can generate a silence of some sort, I guess. Otherwise he's just dead next turn. So you're dead to sap and silence either way. But there may be more outs. If you taunt up the questing, there might be some removal outs available. I don't think it's an easy choice, but I want to go for the Edwin myself. I think he'll know the outs better than me though. He's going for the questing. Either way, Yuansu is in a world of trouble. Seal Fate though, is that enough? I don't think it is. He can do 3 with a Seal Fate and 3 with a Spy Mistress. That leaves him a dagger and 3 on board. That's 4. It's not enough. He's facing down next turn lethal. A little taunt won't be enough because of the Zigzor in hand for Brox either. Just going through my head, what lackeys he can get from this Seal Fate that can possibly save the day. Spells would save the day. Kobold's not enough, I don't think. So he's going to draw a card. And he draws into the sap. But is it lethal now? It's not, right? It's only 7 because of the 1 point of damage he had to put in. So he's going to have to sap the Edwin. Which means that Brox's play was correct to put the taunt on the questing. That little decision's helped him there. And Brox can't believe it. He's lost his Edwin due to a Skyvateer into a sap. The only sap in either deck. But he's not dead yet. He's not in a very tasty position, but he's not dead. Now he's got a really tough choice to make here. He can play the Shield of Galakond, which shuts down everything we can see, and he gets a lackey. That feels like a good option. The other option is far more risky, but he can play the questing into the Zigzor, which gives him no security whatsoever, but possibly gives him a way to win the game in 2 turns. Alexstrasza's too slow. Waxadra's too slow. Sira's too slow. I mean, take the Alexstrasza in case you happen to be alive in 3 turns' time, because all the minions fall through a pit into the bowels of Azeroth somewhere. We never see them again. I don't know. Yeah. Fairly irrelevant choice. This game's not going to 9 mana, but it is the one that makes the most sense, that somehow could matter one day. Yuansu's so close to winning this, but Brox was 1 turn away from winning it. Great battle, this one. And once again, Yuansu is just looking at possibilities for lethals, depending exactly what gets picked up. Maybe there wasn't a possibility this turn, not sure. Free face, kill off all the minions. Shut down all hope here for Brox, surely. And it's lethal next turn. Again, how many turns in a row have I said that? But now it's looking really grim. It looks grimmer every turn. Galacon backstab's a big pickup, isn't it? It takes 1 damage off the board, but 1 damage feels like so much right now. Nothing from the Spy Mistress, from the Galacon. And it was unlikely to get much because a lot of the good stuff started in his hand. Huge taunt for next turn is available. So Yuansu, having the Galacon Kronk set up, needs to make sure he doesn't die in the process. So Galacon now does seem like the natural play. It's only a level 1, but again, where's this game going? What damage does he need to do though? That's kind of interesting because to kill the cat, he would need to trade in 2 minions, which would put Brox down to 6, which is very different to 5, where this Kronks is concerned. Wait. I think I want to use this Shadow Step now and bounce back my Rush Lackey for the extra point of damage, so that Kronks is still lethal next turn. I think Yuansu needs to do that. I think he's going to, judging by this. He started pointing at the cat and that scared me. But this break point of 5 health is so important. Now you kill the cat, right? Okay. Only because the game doesn't go more than 1 more turn, I don't think. Right, decision time for Brox. Does he want to put down an almost unremovable taunt minion and hope that Yuansu doesn't have Kronks? Or does he want to Kronks away for healing, beat an opposing Kronks, well, live against an opposing Kronks? Alright, I'm convinced myself you have to play the taunt. He thinks it's not enough. So he's going to clear the board best he can and heal. Does play around the opposing Kronks, and I think he got this read from the play Yuansu made last turn, which was not to trade. Like, I was upset when he started trading, and so Brox now, seeing the slightly weird play, because the trade is the natural play, understood he had to get out of range. And out of range he did get. And that Alex Straza that Brox picked up in a seemingly miserable position a couple of turns ago is 1 turn away from entering the battlefield and possibly changing the tide for this game. Which would be an incredible turnaround. And with the Winged Guardian in hand and the Saps, well, you can't target Winged Guardian anyway, right? So I think Brox might have stabilised. Yuansu, though, so close to just getting lethal. Let's see if there's any direct damage in his deck as well. Has he got an Eviscerate? He does not. There's no Eviscerate in the deck. So he plays the reverse play to Brox and bounces the Kronks. This is what he was setting up when he didn't Shadow Step last turn, obviously. But I sort of wasn't considering the most obvious play there because I could see the Alex. And now Brox once again on the verge of winning this. But these minions are going to be killed off by the bounced Kronks. I didn't think the game would go this long. Fair play to Yuansu for realising that it would. I'd have just burned that Shadow Step, but this has put him still in with a chance the way it's gone. And he's making as much as he can of this. That's going to be the Wind Guardian. Probably with a questing behind it. And that question could get big fast. More tough choices. I know Fan of Knives was good. It's just so expensive in modern Hearthstone. 3 mana. It wouldn't even be that bad here. It just feels so slow. Does take it though. And the Edwin Van Cleef that caused so much damage early on and probably caused damage to how everybody's feeling when it got sapped is back for another go. Backstab, trade, Twin Tyrant springs out really clearly. What else is going on? There's probably better plays than that available using the questing. Questing, backstab. Whew. What? Sure. So tight. Taking in turns to generate monster boards and somehow not dying. Well, Brox knows that this questing is going to get out of hand. So the Guardian's an issue. He does also have the option to go crazy with Miscreants. But the Wind Guardian is just going to get worse and worse as this questing gets bigger and bigger. I guess you could argue the opposite and say that it gets better, but really you want it to at least survive a hit. Thought he might have played it last turn. But if he goes for the questing and the Wind Guardian and he doesn't die, he's going to be able to make that questing gigantic next turn. With the Evil Miscreants. Yeah, this is the play that stood out. He obviously has an issue with it in some regard. Maybe because he thinks the questing just piles through, but his own questing is going to be an absolute monster, and if he gets the right lackeys, he should be able to take care of one of these Shields of Galakrond. And as it turns out, Yuansu really can't deal with this Guardian because of all the expensive cards in his hand. All he needs to do is get 3 buffs on the questing, but he can only get 2. Obviously, a lot of the lackeys will help him. So he is going to go with the safety first play of getting it done this way. So many lethals available now. Is that one of them? I think it is. I think this is lethal. Of course, Sinister Strike face and the Rush Lackey means that he can get the other 5 damage to the face. And Brox is devastated. He was so close to taking this down. What a great match, though. And Yuansu and World Elite go to over 50%, and Suning are in real trouble at the bottom of the table.